Here today we are with Laurent Bugnion at MIX11. Hi Laurent, how are you?
Hi Emil, I'm very fine, thank you very much. Very excited about MIX.
Excited about the keynote on the second day, right?
Yeah, the keynote on the second day was a real keynote.
Yeah.
No, it was really inspiring, and for people who didn't see it, they have to see it. It was, I was telling to somebody from the staff that I got today what I was coming here to get, which is inspiration for a whole year, at least, right? And today we got that delivered, so it was really fantastic.
Yeah.
And interestingly, not just in one technology, right? We saw that for Windows Phone 7 with all the new things which are coming, and I think they delivered more than I thought they would, which is, usually the other way around, right? And so Windows Phone 7 fantastic. Silverlight 5, what they saw, in the 3D space was really impressive. And what's interesting is that Silverlight 5 Beta actually has more than what they showed at the keynote. Yeah. So at the Firestarter, for example, they showed quite a few things, and now if you check the beta and you see what's inside, like the example, the binding debugger. The new things that they added to build line of business applications. Now they didn't demo that at the keynote because it's not very spectacular, right? The 3D stuff is spectacular, but at the same time, people have to understand that there is really more to to Silverlight 5 Beta than what was shown.
I think the 3D is the big thing.
It's very spectacular. Yeah.
From that point of view, this is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of improvements.
Which are going to make our lives much easier because we use that. Yeah. Absolutely. And then the Kinect stuff was fantastic. I mean, it was a moment. There was this guy who came on stage, and before that, the whole thing was very lively and a little bit loud, like really Vegas, right? And then this guy came from Microsoft Research and starting showing us the planetarium. Yeah. And there was a soft music, and he was showing us, planets and the solar system, and then after the galaxies, and after that, always going back until you could see the shape of the Big Bang. So this is a project from Microsoft Research, and all done by the Kinect. And you had that music, and I had tears in my eyes. It was really so beautiful this moment. So yeah, that was really very, very inspiring. Yeah,
inspirational. Yeah, definitely. I really like that one too.
Yeah.
Also the Kinect guy who came in with this chair.
Oh yeah. So Clint, right? So Clint Rutgers is working with Coding for Fun, which is a part of Channel 9, right? And he's well known of the Channel 9 viewers. And Dan Fernandez is also working there. And he did a crazy thing with a lounge chair. So it's one of those chairs, one of those recliner, when you can recline, and it's a huge chair made of leather, right? Then he mounted it on a chassis, on a, and then he had some wheels, and the wheels are crazy. They are actually multi-directional, so you can go like this, but also on the side, And actually the wheels are beautiful. I made pictures, I will publish them, just to show them, because they are really very nice. And everything is built with parts that you can buy very easily, right? And this is controlled by Kinect. So he was like this, and then he does, like this or whatever, and then the chair moves, right? And that was so cool, And I thought, and apparently the whole thing is super heavy, so it's very sturdy and etc. And it can drive very fast, apparently. So he said that, if he drives fast, it's very scary because what do I do now? But so that thing was more funny than anything else. But it was really very impressive. The other thing with the Kinect, which I thought was great, was the two students from Germany, right, who came, and they have a project where, right now it looks a little bit weird because they have a helmet and then they put a Kinect on top, right? But later it's going to be miniaturized, I suppose, etc. And the idea was to say, okay, for people who have visual difficulties, right? They can walk, and then the sensor is telling them when there is an obstacle. So and it will not only tell them when there is one, but also where it is, right, left, what to do exactly. And then they had some signs, some kind of code bar, something like that, barcode. And this was telling them, okay, now you should turn right, or now you should turn left, or there is a door, you should open it, things like that. That was really sweet. Yeah.
That could help a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it's really practical usage, and I thought that so it's no secret now that the attendees got a Kinect, right? So and the SDK is going to be published very soon. So that's very sweet. And I was talking about that with a guy who does a lot of Kinect, Josh Blake, and suddenly we said, hey, and by the way, you can use that for games too, So really the focus of the Kinect, which was really for Xbox, now it's not on Xbox anymore, It's really on the PC and what you can do with that, with the SDK. So that's sweet. And the SDK is going to be released in C++, but also in C# and VB, by the way, which is sweet. Yeah.
It's really open now. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Absolutely.
Are doing stuff with Kinect?
Yeah. So we started exploring with Kinect. For the moment, rather to build our experience with that, to see how we can do that. But there is a strong request from clients to explore unusual user experiences. A couple of months ago, we published a video on YouTube. So if you search Identity Mine on YouTube, you can find the video, which is, it's a stop motion video, so it's really just an exploration, right? But really the idea is to say, okay, how can we explore new UX? How can we do the whole mobility things? And also, more and more we see walls coming up, which are in some cases not just projected on, but also the user, it's actually filmed, so the user can interact with the wall. There is actually one down there at the Mandalay Bay. In the hallway, when you go back to the room, there is a wall where they project stuff. Now, if you check the projector, there is a camera on top, so you can actually interact with that. And those walls are really cool. So nowadays, with with computer, well, this one is super old, so but it's still a tablet, right?
That's from PDC.
No. This one is, I've been using it for 3 years already. So it's a multi-touch one. It has 4 points of touch. I can do some nice things in WPF, Silverlight, whatever. It's Windows 7, but it's just a little bit heavy. So now we go to slates, etc. And so how do you interact with, the phone, right? Which is one form factor. Then you have a tablet like that, another form factor, and then you have those walls, right? And in terms of sensors, I mean, until now we had like the keyboard and the mouse, right? And maybe a touch screen. And now suddenly we have the Kinect, right? We have the voice. And in some cases, you can go overboard. And we did some experiments with those helmets where you can actually sync to control your, like sync left, sync right, or stuff like that. Right?
So many platforms.
That's crazy. That's crazy. We live in the future, definitely.
It's so amazing, so interesting.
It is totally. There is a lot going on, right? And a lot of people are talking about, the future or whatever. The thing that we need to really remember is that it's an amazing time to be a client application developer. We have so many exciting things to do. And for me, that's what I get at MIX is really like seeing, what other people are doing, and some people are doing amazing things really, and they can show that off. One thing which was great at MIX was this open source fest on Monday, which John Papa organized, and it was really a chance to see, I think 50 or more than 50.
52, I think.
Yeah, that was amazing. So open source project, right? And really ranging from Mono, which is like a huge open source project, to super small stuff, right? And some of those were really amazing, actually. And the thing which was cool is that the attendance was huge. I mean, a lot of people came. It was really full. I mean, the room was full. So that was a great thing to see.
So you were presenting MVVM Light?
I was presenting MVVM Light. I had good feedback. I was happy about it. Especially people who come and tell me, hey, I use your thing, and more often than not in production application, right? Which makes me think that I'm, wow, oh la la.
It's always nice to hear from people, right? Using it.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So I did that, and I had some interesting things to show because I'm actually releasing a new preview at MIX. So I did my session yesterday. The deep dive MVVM, right? I did it yesterday, and I published a sample code, and the sample code is already using some of the new things, and now I'm going to just release that to Codeplex for everybody to use. So yeah.
Tell me about the new things.
Well, the new things are in the new preview. So the reason why I do previews is because I want to give the occasion to the community to test and give feedback as soon as possible, right? So I do previews fairly often. I already did 3 of them. Okay. And then at one point I will probably decide, okay, now is a good point to do really a release, right? But you know, building the preview is actually very easy. I did a blog post on that, so it's not difficult at all. And so now in the preview 3, there are just one little thing, which is that I just renamed the class. Okay. Very small thing, because I thought the original name was not very good, and somebody in the community also suggested that I should maybe use another name. So it's just this observable object thing, which we was called before notify property change. So I changed that to observable object. So that's a small thing. But what I really wanted to push is a small, simple IOC container, which is out of the box in MVVM Light version 4. Nice. And yeah, the reason why I wanted that is that one of the goals of MVVM Light version 4 was really to clean up the view model locator, which is where you do the setup of your view models, where you bind them to your, you know, where you create them, you inject maybe your services, etc., and then you expose them to the view. And I had, in version 3, I had a lot of stuff which wasn't very nice. I mean, like the create method, and there was a clean method, and you know, it's not very nice. So eventually, last year at MIX11, when I did my my demo, my understanding the MVVM pattern session,
I was there. It was very nice.
That was a cool one. Yeah, it was very well received. And then I in one of the demos I used Unity as an IOC container to do the setup, and it ended up being much cleaner. But the problem with Unity is that as good as it is, you will always find people who prefer structure map, and then you will always find people who prefer Castle Winds or whatever. And to avoid, you know, taking side for one or the other, I decided to do a very simple implementation of an IOC container. It's really very simple, you know. It's one class. It's just a few lines of code, not much, but it does enough to allow you to cover most of the scenarios that you need in MVVM. So in the creation of view models, right? And I wanted to show that at MIX in the new session, which is building on top of the old session, which was the basics, and now I did a deep dive. So I wanted to show that, which is why I really wanted to have that. So I released that at MIX. Yeah. And simple IOC is, as I said, it's very simple, etc. It's not super powerful, right? So if you want power, you can just swap it with another IOC container.
Yeah, that was my next question. So you can swap between IOC containers.
Yes, so the IOC container people are very good people who talk together, and apparently it took some time until they did it, but they really did it, and they did a good thing. They came up with something called the Common Service Locator, and Common Service Locator is a library with a class, with an interface called iService Locator. And iService Locator has, specifies how you resolve instances, you know.
That's something they have in Prism, if I'm not wrong?
No, well, not quite. That's something that was published eventually in Codeplex under Microsoft.practices, which is the patents and practices group. But it was really, the initiative came from the community, really, right? So the library is in Codeplex under Microsoft.practices, but, and the name is Common Service Locator, the name of the project. But it is really, those people sat down, well, probably per email, I guess, and exchange ideas, and how can we simplify that, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. So Simple IOC uses that, so it's implementing the iService Locator interface, and you can use a Common Service Locator to resolve it, and then, which means that in your application, if you want to swap to something else, you have to change the setup, because the setup is where those IOC containers are really different from each other, so you have to change that. But after that, in the application itself, you don't have to change anything. You're just using the abstraction. So that was the idea. So very easy to swap for something else. if you prefer MEF, you can even go all over. MEF is not an IOC container, right? But it does also things which help in that sense. So you can just go and remove the simple IOC altogether and use MEF instead. It does work as well.
Unity.
Unity would be also one of those common service locator group, you know. So yeah, that's something which is pretty cool. And honestly, creating the simple IOC was very interesting. You know, it was also a nice exercise. I did find some implementations online which were really good, so I inspired myself from that very heavily. I would say I just tweaked it to be very good for view models. That's the idea. And it covers most of the scenarios that we use when you create view models. And I use that in the demo, so if you check the deep dive MVVM session, which is actually already available online, so you can stream it.
Perfect.
Yep. If you check that out and go on my blog and get the sample code, you will see that there is already the simple IOC inside there, and then you know to do the creation of services and everything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I was happy about this one.
What about the future of MVVM Light? Do you have something like a roadmap or just some ideas? How?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the immediate future will be fixing a few bugs, which I kind of delayed until after MIX because I wanted to show new things at MIX.
Okay.
But definitely bugs are definitely on my roadmap, and there are not many bugs really, but there are a couple of memory leaks which I want to take care of, and I had really good help from people in the communities. Thank you so much, who sent me solutions and things like that. So I'm going to study that, implement that. Another thing which is definitely on the roadmap is to make the process of installing it easier, because right now it's really a pain. Right now you have to unzip quite a lot of files, and there is no automation to that, so I really want to automate that. So one action there is definitely to update the NuGet version.
Yeah.
There is a NuGet version, but the NuGet version that we have now doesn't work with the Windows Phone 7. Not because of us, but because of NuGet, unfortunately, because the old version of NuGet didn't support the phone. But there is a new version of NuGet, which they released like 2 weeks ago, and now it supports the phone, so I just need to make a new package, So I will do that, and also, eventually find a way to install the templates, the project templates, item templates, and the code snippets, and the library. Well, the libraries you can do with NuGet. All that in a much more automated manner. So that's also one thing which is definitely on my very high on the roadmap. And there is a question of the documentation which always comes back. And that's also something that I have definitely an idea on how to solve. It's just a little bit early to talk about it, but I have plans on how to do a documentation which will be consistent and also extensible when I add new stuff. So yeah, a lot of things on the plate. In terms of feature in MVVM Light, I have a few ideas for new features. One of them is already implemented. I can say about it, but it's just not published yet because I just want to solve a few things which are not totally nice. It's a converter for a binding. But instead of having to always write a new converter for simple tasks, like for example, you say, okay, I want to take a number and add 2, or I want to take a boolean and give back the opposite, right? So not B, right? Then it's a pain because you always have to do that. So here with this converter, which I call universal converter, you can add just one in your application somewhere in app.xaml. And then after that, you use it, and as a converter parameter, you give a lambda expression. And the lambda expression is going to be evaluated at runtime.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, yeah. There is just one thing which is a little bit annoying, though, is that the amount of things that you can express this way is limited by the dynamic link library. Link you cannot just go ahead and take any class and create it, right? So there is a limitation, but for simple things, it works really good. Here too, there is no great invention in software, right? There is only scavenging and improving and changing. So here too, the inspiration for that comes from work that is available online. Actually, there is there are a couple of projects around that. One of those is made by Marlon Greer, who is a guy out of Malta who is a great guy and WPF expert and founder of the WPF Disciples group. And so it's definitely something that I looked into. His project was for WPF only. My one works also for Windows. No, sorry, not for Windows Phone 7. That's one thing which is annoying. Unfortunately, the whole dynamic things doesn't work in Windows Phone 7 for the same reasons and everything. It's that Windows Phone 7 doesn't have reflection.emit, so you cannot do these things. But it works for Silverlight and WPF. So
yeah, but still, I think this universal converter you said.
Yeah,
I think it would work for most of the cases. Or like
for simple cases, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but that's most of the time you do just this small converter that, as you said, converts from false to true.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I really would like to manage to cover with that, which is actually the main reason why I didn't publish yet. I would love to be able to do a Boolean to visibility converter with that, but unfortunately it doesn't work yet. The problem being that the visibility enum cannot be, LinkU cannot handle that.
I see.
It cannot create that, you see. So I'm trying to find a trick, a workaround or something which is clean enough, and that's a little bit difficult. So that's what is a little bit holding me. But it's definitely something that, I mean, even if I cannot solve that issue, I'm still going to release it because I think the class by itself is useful anyway. But there is a limitation in what you can do with it, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool, yeah.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So as you see, a lot of work on MVVM Light, so we can go ahead and check it out at mvvmlightcodePlex.com.
Exactly, so mvvmlight.codePlex.com, and if you want to have, tutorials and more information about what MVVM is, I also have a link on the videos that I did. You go to galasov.ch/mvvm, and you have it. And all the CodePlex things, the latest is in the source code, so you can download it. There is an explanation on how to build it. And there is also the official release, which is still version 3. It took a while until I started working on version 4, the reason being that I wrote a book in between. And
Silverlight
4 Unleashed, yeah.
That's the best book. Just
I don't want to alienate Pete Brown, who did the other great Silverlight book. So I will say that mine is one of the two best books on the market, and his is the other one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, Warren, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Take care.